Greetings, everyone, and welcome to episode 30 of Teaching Tales. I am Brent Coley, your host, and this is the podcast. Once again, if this is your first time listening, it's a podcast totally devoted to sharing stories from the world of education. And joining me today is my friend, fellow educator, and fellow Anaheim Ducks hockey fan, Dennis Grice. Dennis, how you doing?
Hello, Brent. Good to hear from you. And go Ducks.
That's right. We're 26 days as we record this. I saw on Instagram today. It's 26 days away from the regular season starting, so we're very, very excited about that. And this is the first. I mean, we're talking via Google Hangout, and for anyone listening, Dennis is not in the room across the hallway or anything like. Dennis is on literally the other side of the world. He is in Shanghai right now, correct, Dennis?
I am in Shanghai, and I am a day ahead of you.
A day ahead of me. I'm recording at 5:30 p.m. on a Saturday, and it's 8:30 a.m. on a Sunday.
On a Sunday, yes,
wow.
That's right. Sunday morning.
Sunday morning. Well, good morning to you. Good evening to me. And Dennis, for anyone listening who's not familiar with you and your work, just briefly, who is Dennis? How long have you been teaching? What have you been up to in education?
I am a technology coordinator, technology coach, computer guy. I've been doing that at various schools for about 20 years now. And I am just starting my third year here at Concordia International School in Shanghai.
Awesome.
So a teacher in the States for most of my career, and I don't know, maybe you call it a midlife crisis. You know, it was time for something different, time for a new adventure, time to make new stories.
Definitely.
And an opportunity came up to teach in Shanghai, and I looked at it as, is this something, an opportunity to learn? Is it something that can make me better? So it's like I got some advice from a good friend, Rushton Hurley.
Great guy, yes.
Who said, don't think of all the reasons you should do it, think of all the reasons you shouldn't. And I couldn't come up with anything legit outside of not being able to see as many Ducks games as I used to. But no, it's been a fun ride.
That's awesome. Yeah, some teachers, when they're ready for a little shake up, they change grade levels, or they maybe transfer to another school in their district, and you literally flew to the other side of the world. So I
sold all my stuff and moved to Shanghai.
Oh, that is awesome. Well, that was, when we were kind of talking, or I should say Facebook messengering back and forth, if messengering is a word, of what we could talk about. I'm just very curious. I've seen some of your Facebook posts or your Instagram posts, but as an American educator, you've taught in America, you're now teaching in Shanghai. I'm very curious about the differences of American education, Shanghai. So, you said that you've got a few stories, but I just starting, how is it like over there? Because I've never done it.
Yeah, it's there are things that are the same. When you come down to it, school is school. And, once you start teaching, kind of getting into that mode, it's like, okay, this is in my wheelhouse. I can do this. But there's other stuff it's just very different. But let me kind of back up. Our school is an international school. So the clientele or the student population, the agreement that our school has with Shanghai is we can only take students with foreign passports. So we do not have any Chinese national citizens at our school. It's parents who have foreign passports who are over here working for their company. We've got, Ford has a factory over here, so we've got, parents who work for Ford, and they put their kids in our school. GM, we got Disney in town, we got Shanghai Disney. And then, a lot of other companies or people who have come over here to work. And, we get their kids, and there's a variety of different international schools here in Shanghai. There's, the British school, which teaches the IB, the British system. There's German school. We're kind of catering to American kids and what those kids will most likely need when they go back to the States. So we do AP testing. We do a lot of that, traditional stuff, we try and follow or at least come close to Common Core. NGSS for science, we're trying to align with that. So, the transition for kids moving back to the States. So about 60% of our student population is U.S. passports. And then, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Korea, and then just kind of a variety of folks. So, that's what we're doing with the school itself is just amazing. The people I work with are just top notch.
That's awesome.
And that's, yeah.
As you were mentioning kind of the population, I wrote down the word, just taking some notes here, transiency. Do you see a lot of, because a lot of schools, you came from California, I'm in California, I'm in a lot of our schools, we will see a lot of transiency sometimes. Are your kids there for a year or two at a time? Yeah.
Rarely do we have someone, go from preschool all the way through 12th grade.
Sure.
At our high school graduation last year, I think there might have been 5,
wow.
Or 6. I'm just throwing a number out. But yeah, a lot of the families that come are here for a year, 2 years, 3 years, and then they're gone. And a lot of the teachers as well.
Sure.
I'm on a 3-year contract, so this is a contract year for me, and I can either decide if I want to renew for another year by year after that, or say, hey, I'd like to move on to something else. And that's just kind of the nature of international schools. You get a lot of people coming in and going out, and there's a lot of transition. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that's tough is you have that feeling when you come into a school. It's like, oh, I'm new. I'm a little nervous. I got to get to know people. But what I wasn't prepared for was, like, at the end of the year, people that I got to know and built connections with that were friends. It's like, they're moving on. I might not ever see them again.
They left, yeah.
Yeah. So you're kind of dealing with that, that feeling of, oh, you were here and now I'm getting left behind.
Oh.
But and I'm learning to deal with it, but it's a different type of transition. And the community here is so tight. So you build those relationships, and that stuff is strong.
Yeah.
Because you're kind of like, hey, we're all in this together, and you work together, you play together. And when folks leave, it's tough.
Sure. No, so many of the previous episodes of the podcast have centered around the topic of relationships and building those relationships with students. But that's just a great point, that building those with staff. And yeah, my school, I've got a lot of teachers who have been there since its inception. There's not a lot of turnover in terms of teaching at my school. So that would be a very different thing. So do you have any stories, since this is a podcast about stories, that you thought you might want to share?
Yeah, I've got a couple. One would be kind of like a story of just kind of challenges. I came from the US, I'm a Google certified teacher, and we're using Chromebooks and Google and Google Drive, Google Classroom at my previous school. And I come to China, and China, we've got this little thing called the Great Firewall, and Google is blocked in China. Now, our school has a special arrangement where we have a whitelisted internet, so we can actually use it on campus. But if you want to access things like Google, Facebook, Twitter, or something like that in China, it's blocked, and you have to kind of work around or get a VPN, and sometimes those work, sometimes they don't. And what's interesting is, in the States, kids leave school so they can get on things like Facebook and Twitter. Here they come to school to get on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. So it's kind of a flip.
Wow.
And that's one of the adjustments you have. But at the same time, trying to work with teachers who want to use things like Google Docs, we have to understand. I have to go to them, and the administration says you cannot assign any homework that requires kids to access Google at home. So you have to allow time in class for that to happen.
Wow.
And, we can set up things, for kids that have laptops, you can set up offline docs so they can work on it at home, but you got to kind of have that in mind where you're kind of working with, we want to work within and work with the system and respect, and we can't, require parents to have a VPN because it's not technically legal.
Sure.
But at the same time, we want to do what's best for learning and have those collaborative tools available. So you just kind of have to it's a lot of workarounds.
Oh, sure.
But
is there an all? I mean, it gives. I mean, we complain about things being blocked in the States. Like, oh man, schools will complain that YouTube is blocked, and should it be blocked? Shouldn't it be blocked? But I mean, that's petty compared to. I mean, you've got schools and districts that are Google districts, Google Apps for Education, G Suite now districts.
Exactly.
And that being taken away. Is there an alternative that they offer, or is it just all having to do workarounds?
Well, I mean, we are looking at, I mean, Microsoft Office 365 is not blocked. And, we're looking at the possibility of using that as a tool, but so many of our people are just so ingrained, and we've got so much stuff on Google, that can be a really tough transition.
Sure.
And, trying to figure out how that's going to work. And, like our tech director says, well, Office 365 works for now. What's going to happen? In China, we sort of have this saying, it is the way it is until it's not.
Yeah.
And you just got to learn to adjust with that. And you got to learn to roll with it. But it does offer its own set of challenges. Yeah.
No, I love Google too, and my school, my district is Microsoft 365. So it is. I'm in a kind of a transition time that we're learning to use a different tool and having to be flexible. And some days are easier than others, but
and kind of going back to our teacher population, where you have teachers coming in and going and coming in and going. You have teachers that come in with skill sets. It's like, hey, I'm a Google teacher. I want to be able to use this stuff.
Yeah.
And there are challenges, and one of my challenges as a tech coach is, you could have a population of teachers that are a lot of lone rangers. And I'm used to doing it this way, but someone else is used to doing it another way. And you want to be able to help people work within their passion and do what they want to, do, what they know is best for kids. And at the same time, you do need some sort of level of consistency. And I'm sure as an admin, you struggle with that a lot as well. We can't have everyone doing their own thing. We've got to have, here's a tool that does what you want to do. It may not be the exact same tool that you're used to using, but can we get everyone at least on the same page in that, just for the sake of, kids moving from grade to grade, or just for consistency for the parents?
No, I completely understand that. I mean, I've hired teachers in the last couple of years who have come from districts that were G Suite Google districts that were used to Google Classroom, for example. And I mean, the nature of technology and educational technology specifically is, I mean, over the last several years, it is becoming part of the DNA of teachers. And it changes the way, I mean, just anything from a document camera to a projection system. I mean, when teachers call me and say, my doc cam's not working, my projectors, I mean, we had a power outage last week because of the extreme heat we were experiencing, and I didn't fry, but we had to reset things. And I remember those days. I mean, when I was in the classroom, it changes, having access to that changes the way we design lessons. So I completely relate to a teacher coming in who, for example, was used to Google Classroom, or maybe it's vice versa, and they're used to something that we don't offer. And I'm having to model that now too, because I'm somebody who has used a lot of Google tools in the past, and my district is moving in a Microsoft 365 direction. So I'm having to model that and say, hey guys, yes, we're used to this, but you know what? Now we have to go in this direction. Kind of, I mean, hey, we got a new curriculum, or whether it's Common Core, we're going to have to kind of step out of our comfort zones, because for me, it is out of my comfort zone. Google is my comfort zone, but I'm getting better. I mean, things like OneNote, for example, with Microsoft, I love OneNote. I mean, OneNote it's
powerful. It really is.
I think OneNote is saving Microsoft. I mean, that is just a fantastic product, and I'm glad that we're pushing that direction, because I probably would not have explored OneNote had I not had to. I was comfortable.
Been forced to move in that direction.
I was comfortable with my Google solutions, And I mean, for example, PLC notes and PLC agendas, we were using forms and the autocrat and merging into for the agendas, and it was great. But now I've got it in OneNote, and it's even greater. It's easier. It works on every device. You can draw in it with a stylus if you're on an iPad or a Surface Pro or anything like that. So an example that stepping out of my comfort zone has actually led to something better. But I've had to be at the front of that parade and model that, like, hey guys,
oh yeah,
I'm with you. I'm uncomfortable too. So
you're talking about stepping out of your comfort zone. Move to China. There you go. I shouldn't have said that while you were taking a drink.
No, that's okay.
You almost lost it there.
Yeah.
But no, it's and I think part of my job as a tech coach is to kind of help teachers through that transition, and to help them see that, and also to just kind of like smooth the technology use. Let's use it where it makes sense. Let's, try to eliminate the extra steps that are involved and make it so it's not just seen as one more thing.
Amen.
And then just learning what needs to be done. And one of the things that's kind of freeing, and this is another story I think I mentioned to you earlier. What's different, I think, working in an international school, away from the States, is I think there's a higher level of trust. And for example, my first year, my first couple months, I'm working as a tech coach in elementary and middle school. And one of the things they asked me to do, first off, was to kind of provide some training for our teachers on using Aspen, our student information system. Mm-hmm. And, how to put in grades and, doing a variety of tasks. And I'm looking over this list of things, and I'm meeting with our assistant principal, and I'm saying, okay, I'm looking at these things that you can do on Aspen, that what are our high priority items? For example, how often do teachers have to submit lesson plans, and do they need to submit lesson plans on Aspen? At the end, when does that have to be done? And he just kind of smiled and chuckled at me a little bit, and he said, I don't have to check lesson plans every week. You wouldn't have been hired here if I didn't trust you to do lesson plans. I can go to your room and say, hey, let me see your lesson plans for the week, and I expect that you're just going to do it. You wouldn't have made it through the vetting process if I didn't trust you to do that. And having that level of trust and taking away that accountability procedure is very freeing. And I think it's also empowering for teachers as well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, trust versus accountability. I mean, trust and accountability, which one has a positive connotation? Exactly. And I remember when I was one of my previous teaching positions, I remember the guy next door told me about the principal, and I was just kind of asking, so how are things working here? And he said, and I used to say the same thing to my students. It's like, I trust you until you give me a reason not to. I give you my trust right off the bat. Just don't give me a reason. Don't break that trust, and then we have to repair that and rebuild it. And my teacher friend had said, kind of like the principal, like, you will have his trust as he's coming in, like you said, with your AP looking in, and I could ask you for your lesson plans. You wouldn't be here if you didn't know what you're doing. And I say the same thing now to my teachers and my staff members in terms of, we don't punch the time clock and things like that, where it's like, oh, yes, there are guidelines and things like that contractually that are there to make sure that things aren't abused. But until, just, you have my trust until there's a reason not to trust.
And you're not putting accountability measures in place that are basically like punishing the whole class for one person who might not be stepping up and doing their job.
Yeah.
And I think that tends to bring everyone down.
Yeah. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Why did we all lose our recess? Because
exactly.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that's just really freeing, and having that community of people that are working together. I mean, there's always little conflicts because you've got a lot of very strong-willed, very, you know,
You're working with people.
People come into our school, you know, and it's like, hey, I'm the top dog in my school. You know, I got hired off on this international school. Then you realize you're working with the top dogs from everywhere.
Sure,
you know,
sure. It's an all-star team.
Everyone's yeah, it is. It is in a lot of ways. It's an all-star team.
Yeah,
and you know, that can be great, but it also can have its challenges.
Sure. But no, I wrote down a note. I loved what you said earlier about just that in assisting people with using tech and making sure that it's not one more thing. And that's Weston Kieschnick. I don't know if you follow him on Twitter. He's amazing educator. I mean, he has one of his big messages. He wrote his book Bold School. So Weston, if you're listening, great book, by the way.
Okay.
But it's not using tech for tech's sake. Sometimes, I mean,
Precisely.
Sometimes a Chromebook's not the best tool for the job. Sometimes good old-fashioned paper and pencil, or just talking with your student partner, is the best tool for the job. It doesn't always have to be tech, because teachers have enough on their plate right now. I mean, geez, we got a brand new English language arts curriculum this year that teachers are wading through to try to see how they can incorporate that. We're in like year 3 or 4 of a new math curriculum. Then you got NGSS science standards. I mean, there's so much. I always like to use the example of, it's like a paper plate.
Exactly.
You keep putting that mashed potatoes and gravy in it, and it starts to get soggy. So we gotta double plate and triple plate and make sure that they have the support to do that. And throwing tech as one more thing on top, it shouldn't be one more thing on top.
Right.
It should change the way we do things.
Well, it should make what you're doing more efficient, and allow and give you freedom to do other things. And sometimes, and it's weird how sometimes just the simplest little thing, like I was at an elementary meeting, and you know, showing people how to, you know, to fill in their grades, you know, because everyone has to fill in their grades on the sheet at the end, and just the trick of showing how you can take one grade, do a fill down, and fill that grade down the column, and then just change the ones that you don't. I mean, it's that little thing. Okay, it may save you 2 or 3 minutes, but that 2 or 3 minutes is huge.
Sure.
You know, and it's like, wow, this is going to make my life easier.
Oh.
And a lot of times it's just those little things that can kind of turn an attitude toward tech as something that's a pain to, oh, this is gonna be great. You know, and you kind of get that, ooh, you know, and you can sort of see that, you know, like people watching fireworks. Ooh.
and even of the smallest things.
Exactly.
I remember when Marcy Key, one of my colleagues, I never knew that the whole triple clicking on a paragraph.
Super secret triple click?
Yeah, the triple click. I mean, everyone knows, you double click a word, it highlights the word. You triple click, it highlights the whole paragraph. And I remember it's like, mind blown. I mean, are you kidding me? And when I show teachers the whole Control Plus, how to zoom in a browser window or anything like that, and it's somebody whose eyes are getting worse by the day, seemingly. I mean, I've worn glasses since 4th grade, and now I'm nearsighted. I can't see far away. Now I can't see close up. I mean, things are getting worse and worse. So that whole Control Plus is just, teachers are like, oh my gosh, that's the best thing in the world.
And those things are life changing. We actually just did a podcast on this last week on, you know, just time saving tech tips. Just those little keystrokes are things, you know, and I'll just throw this one out too, because I thought it was really cool. If you're on a Mac, you know how you do your Shift Command 3 or Shift Command 4 to do a screen capture.
I did not even know that. Okay. And I use a Mac. So say that again. So I can write it down.
Yeah, if you do Shift Command 3, it'll capture the whole screen and save it as a file on your desktop. If you do Shift Command 4, it'll let you select part of the screen, and then it saves it, and it saves it as a PNG file on your desktop.
Oh my God!
But the little added thing, all right, if you're, as long as you're doing that little finger contortion, if you add the Control key to that, so it's Shift Control Command 3 or Shift Control Command 4, instead of saving it as a file on your desktop, it copies it to the clipboard. and all I have to do is paste it into Keynote or paste it into PowerPoint. And it's not like, dragging a file. But even just that, the fact that I don't have to like import a file, I can just copy, go to my other app, paste, boom, it's in. That's it's life changing. It's one of those things that's like, yeah, mind blown. This is so cool.
My goodness, I'm just struggling to write this down so I don't forget it. Oh my gosh. Podcast has been good up to this point, Dennis, but you just blew my mind, man. So I need to, when I do post-production on this, I need to throw in a few bombs dropping for my mind blowing.
And now no one's going to pay attention to anything else I said because that's going to stick.
Well, they're going to have to listen the whole way to get through to this. So
Exactly.
So, oh my gosh.
There's your teaser.
Yeah.
But it's stuff like that. It's not, here's the app that's gonna make your life easy. It's, how can I work more efficiently?
Yeah. No,
and what that does is it creates a positive attitude towards tech, as opposed to and you've seen it. It's almost like an audible eye roll.
Yeah.
It's like, and I get that when I say enter your username and password. It's like, oh, not another username and password.
Yeah. No, so not something else to do, something to do what you already do better. Something to do it better and make it just the engagement factor. I mean, when you sometimes, and again, it's not saying it should be done for everything, but I see it when I go in and kids are doing a highly engaging lesson with technology, just when it's like, all right, today, take out the Chromebooks. Just like that, kids are more, take out the iPads. Boom, they're going to be more engaged than they would be if you said, take out your notebook and turn to a blank page and anyway. So,
yeah.
Dennis, this is good stuff, man. I totally appreciate you taking the time. And now when I see the Facebook posts and the Instagram pictures, I will have a better understanding of all the behind the scenes workings of an American in Shanghai.
Oh, there's so much more to tell, but it's exciting.
Well, maybe we'll have you back on for part 2. We did that with Rushton Hurley, so there's always a chance.
Okay.
If you're willing to come back, I'd love to have you back. So
we'll let the listeners decide. Okay, guys, if you want to hear part 2, where do we email?
Yeah, that's right. Did you tweet me? Yeah. So if anyone's listening and you like this, tweet me. Let me know that you want more from Dennis, and
Perfect.
We will make it happen. So, well, Dennis, again, totally thank you for taking the time out of your Sunday morning. And for anyone listening, how can they get in touch with you? I know you're on Twitter. How can they get in contact with you?
Twitter, I am at dgrice, DGRICE. Or you can always email me at dennis.grice and here's the crazy long name, at concordiashanghai.org. So
awesome.
Try being a first grader and typing that in.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'll bet that one's on the room. So
yeah, exactly. But no, dennis.grice at concordiashanghai.org, or just reach out to me on either of those, and it's been a fun adventure. And I do have a blog, but I haven't blogged in a while. But I do have a podcast. And
tell us about that.
I'll throw that out. It's podcast.concordiashanghai.org. Or we're also on 21CL Radio. It's the Concordia EdTech podcast.
Cool.
That's sort of taken all the energy I would put in my blog, we're putting into the podcast. So
very cool. We'll definitely be checking that out. So, well, Dennis, again, thank you. 26 more days, Ducks hockey starts. So
exactly, and we got Beauchemin back too.
I know. I'm very excited. My son is very excited. So hopefully we'll just get over that little hump today and this year and make it back to the finals. So
I'll be listening on the internet.
There we go. There we go. So awesome, Dennis. Well, thank you, and thanks everyone for listening. Totally appreciate it. If you like what you hear, be sure to subscribe in I was going to say YouTube. You can do it in YouTube. It's actually there too. You can subscribe to my channel on YouTube. I was going to say iTunes or Google Play. And if you really like what you hear, drop us a review. I would appreciate that as well. And as always, thanks for listening. And until next time, have a good one.